Highland Haven Australian Shepherds and Highland Haven Dog Training. And welcome to episode 12, our season 1 finale of Dog for Thought. Joining me is my co-host, daughter, and dog trainer extraordinaire, Sophie.
Hi, guys.
And we also have a very special guest today. My husband, Sophie and Jacob's dad, and reluctant dog dad to our 9 Aussies, the incomparable Gary M. Brown.
Hello, everyone.
Just so everybody knows, it took a lot of convincing for Gary to come on as a guest. He says he's not going to have much to say, but anybody who knows Gary knows that he can talk a blue streak. So I don't think we're going to have a lot of problems getting him to contribute. But maybe he's annoyed right now because he's trying to sort out some prescriptions and the pharmacy is not cooperating. So this is a good time to relax and have fun with us, Gary Brown.
Okay.
Oh my God, this is going to be rough. So, give us an update, Soph. What's going on in Dogland?
Well, the puppies are going home this weekend, so that flew by.
It sure did.
But I'm definitely ready for them to go. You know, we just can't give them the same amount of attention that individual owners can. So, I'm ready for them to be able to start their lives.
For sure. Yeah. So, everyone's like, I don't know how you're going to let them go. I would keep all the puppies. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't.
Mm-mm.
Puppies are a ton of work, and they're at the point where they're ready to spread their wings and learn new things and go places. And of course, when you have multiple puppies, like most litters, we don't have the capability to provide that for them. So we're happy to find wonderful families for them to join. And we know they're going to have these great lives, loved by people, and be taken care of in a way that we could certainly not do if they stayed here with us. So at 8 weeks, which is what they're going to be tomorrow, we're recording this on a Thursday. Tomorrow, Friday, they will be 8 weeks. Bonnie's going to go first. She's actually going to be local. She's going to be a couple of towns over from us. Clyde is going on Saturday morning, and Clyde's going out to Long Island to a nice young couple. So I think they seem like a good match for both dogs, and we expect them to make outstanding pets.
Yep, I'm excited. I really like that Bonnie, so, I think it's good for her to go now.
Yeah, we have a thing for the black tries.
The feisty black tries.
Yeah, Bonnie she's something else.
She just has a lot of personality, a lot of things to say.
She really has the most beautiful blue eyes I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
They're almost purple. They're blue. Yep. They're so gorgeous. And she is so sweet and super people focused and really smart. She comes to her name, which is nice because the new owner is going to keep her name Bonnie. So we have really been sort of reinforcing that response to the name Bonnie. Whereas in other litters, when they're not going to keep their name, we just call them puppy, puppy, puppy.
Yep.
We don't call them by individual names. But when you only have 2, you can sort of call them by individual names and reinforce that response.
Mm-hmm.
And comes running. We call her Bon Bon, which actually I think is a super cute nickname. So she responds to that really well. Clyde responds to Clyde.
He does.
Yeah.
But we're not trying to make it stick because they're probably not going to keep his name.
Yeah, we don't know what they're going to rename him. Yeah. But he is just a big sweetheart, and I think he's going to make a really nice pet for him.
I think he's gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Yeah, and he's not going to remain intact. I believe they're going to neuter him. But it got to the point where we weren't able to find a suitable situation where whoever took him felt comfortable keeping him intact. And it got to the point where he just needed to find, a great home. If they choose to neuter him, that's their option. So we decided to go with that.
Yep. We'll have another male.
Yeah. There will be more puppies in the world. There's always more puppies when it comes to the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
So today, this is our season finale. We're going to end this at episode 12. We're going to take some time off, maybe a month or 2, and we're going to come back. We're going to try to come back in video form. Are you excited for that?
I'm excited, but I'm a bit nervous because it's a lot more commitment, a lot more, devoting time to an outfit, which...
Yeah, we have to look nice. We can't look all messy.
I know, we both look disheveled right now, but you would never know.
No, because our voices always sound well put together.
Exactly.
Yeah, so video stuff is going to be a little different for us. It's going to be more involved for us. But I think it's going to be great for the audience. I think the audience is really going to enjoy. You can just still listen to audio, or you can listen and watch us as well. So we're going to take some time and set up a semi-permanent studio downstairs. Jacob has to figure out how to edit in video form, right, Jacob? Oh. So we have to get some new software for that, and we keep moving on. But we've had such a nice response from this so far, this audio version. So we figure let's continue and maybe do something a little bit more advanced for next season. So I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
And we have some guests scheduled already for next season, which we're really excited about.
Super excited about.
And we'll spend the other half of the episodes just chatting like we normally do about silly topics.
Yep.
Like today. So I just thought it would be fun today to have just a topic that everybody can relate to, and that is dogs in movies. So virtually everybody who's listening to us has seen dogs in movies, and I'm sure everybody has a movie come into their mind immediately when I say that, like their favorite dog movie, and also probably simultaneously the dog movie that they hate the most, like one where the dog dies, which is most of them, right? Whenever you see a cute dog on camera, you know that dog's not living until the end of the movie.
Yeah, if I haven't seen the movie and it's like a dog savvy movie, or like the dog's heavily involved, I usually turn it off because I'm just like, I know this dog's not gonna live. He's gonna either die first or save the people, and then I'm gonna be crying.
She's gonna sacrifice herself. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that.
And sometimes I'm just not up for that. Sometimes emotionally I just can't handle that. We got this, just a little shout out to Jacob's girlfriend Brianna, who at the same time came up with this topic suggestion as my sister Jen. They both simultaneously in the same week reached out and said, why don't you do an episode on dogs in movies? So that was kind of serendipitous, and I thought, hey, that's a great topic. So here we go. All right, so how do you want to start this?
I don't know. I feel like we can go in a lot of different paths. Do you want to do like most memorable movies?
Well, most memorable can go either way, right?
I know.
Memorable, like as in trauma.
I know. I have a lot of trauma over these movies.
The one that comes to my mind is when Benji, in the 70s movie, Benji's Maltese girlfriend gets kicked by the bad guy.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's totally traumatized. That was probably, what year do you think that was, Gary?
1974.
Really? 74?
Yeah, it's old.
Wow. What was that? Benji Lives? What was it called?
No, it was just Benji.
It was just Benji.
And that was the dog from the old TV show Petticoat Junction. He was the little dog that used to run next to
Benji was?
Yep.
Oh.
And then he got too old, and they used one of his pups to be Benji later on in the second and third movie.
Huh, I think this was the second movie, though. I can't imagine.
The first movie, he was kind of old. He was old then.
I feel like it was the second movie, because the second movie, well, the first one you said was, what, 74? I would have only been 6 or 5. So probably it is the second movie, which I would guess is around 77 or 78. And that was like For the Love of Benji or something?
Yeah, one of those. I don't know. There was a few of them. I
remember being totally traumatized. It kind of reminded me of when the sheep or the lamb gets run over in The Little Drummer Boy. Very traumatizing. But anyway, spoiler alert, she survives and triumphs over the bad guy. So anyway, back to the memorable one. So memorable can be both traumatic and also wonderful.
Yep.
Do you have something in mind?
I just thought of Babe. I love that movie.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah, that's a really good one. And what is it? Fly? Mm-hmm. Fly and Rex?
Rex, yeah.
Oh, that's like a movie I love, but also like Rex is so mean. I really I don't know. He's so beautiful. And I remember him being like this beautiful border collie, but at the same time, he was so mean to Babe.
He was super grumpy.
Which honestly is kind of character for like border collies.
Yeah, he was a little boomerish, I think, in his attitudes towards the new generation, the next generation.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, it was a pig, not a border collie. So I get it a little bit, you know?
Maybe, I don't know. Fly was really beautiful, and that's a great movie. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm, that's a classic. It has a lot of herding in it, which is up our alley.
Mm-hmm. I think they portrayed the border collies pretty well in that.
I think so too.
Pretty accurate to border collies. Well, that's a good one. What else? What else you got?
Memorable, as in like good?
Yeah, memorable as in good.
Okay, let me see. I love Lady and the Tramp. I know we just recently rewatched it just for the podcast.
Hello, lady.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And I think definitely applaud Disney on Lady and the Tramp because the dog body language is amazing throughout the entire movie. Like it's so accurate. And then rewatching it as like a trainer and then also as an adult, it's just like, wow, they did such an amazing job.
Yeah. Disney's known for that. They used to make their animators really study dogs, bring dogs into the studio, the animation studio, and they would study their movement and stuff. This was back in the old days when they did, of course, animation by hand.
Yeah, I know they drew every single clip in, which is amazing.
Yeah, so I watched Lady and the Tramp. You watched some of it the other day. I rewatched it specifically for this episode. I'd say that's probably my favorite Disney dog movie, Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. They did a great job with the personality of the Cocker Spaniel and the personality of the Scotty and of the Bloodhound. And, they have all these accents. We're not going to talk about the cats because that gets a little bit racist. But, yeah, the dogs were great. And I love Tramp. And I love the fact that both Tramp and Lady have duck tails, just saying. Both have wiggle butts.
Yep, and they portray the wiggle butts throughout the entire film. Yeah, it's just such a classically good movie.
It is. I have to say, Aunt Sarah is the devil.
She is. It's a shame that her name is Sarah.
I know. She gives... all the Sarahs in the world are mad that they named that character Aunt Sarah. If you guys remember, Aunt Sarah comes to babysit the newborn baby for a couple of days, and she brings her nasty Siamese cats who get poor Lady in trouble, and then Aunt Sarah freaking goes and buys a muzzle for Lady.
Yeah, like what?
Like where was Jim Deere and Darling? Why did they not talk to Aunt Sarah and say, like Lady is great with the baby, you don't need to worry about her. Instead, Aunt Sarah loses Lady.
Yep.
Loses her. So she gets the muzzle on and Lady gets spooked and runs away. She loses Lady and gets picked up by the pound. She gets shot at.
Yep.
She could have gotten killed because Tramp convinces her to chase chickens, right?
She got put in the pound.
She gets put in the pound, which is, that whole scene is really sad. But, side note, there's a borzoi in the pound scene.
There is a borzoi in the pound scene. And doesn't he have like a Russian accent?
He has a Russian accent and talks about the Cossacks, which is, I think, the Russian police. Yeah, do you know what that, when she says, I hope the Cossacks do pick you up. Yeah. So that was made in 1955.
Wow.
But I think it probably takes place early in the 20th century, like maybe around 1915 or so.
Yeah, well, it has like wagons and stuff.
Half
but they
of
do
them
have
are still,
some cars.
They do have some first generation cars.
Yeah.
And they do have some horse and buggy too, kind of thing. So early in the 1900s. It's interesting that I don't know if it was taken from, maybe it was taken from a book, but interesting that they set it in that setting. But the feel of it is very 50s.
It is. Very 50s.
Very traditional family, stay-at-home mother, and Jim Deere and Darling, which I think is hilarious because they don't have names.
The name Lady, right?
Yep, the name Lady.
The name Lady, the name Tramp, like portrays who they are.
And whenever we see a mixed breed litter, and some of the puppies look like the mother, and then some of the puppies don't look like the mother, it just completely reminds me of Lady and the Tramp.
Litter.
Like, oh, this must be the ones that look like the dad, like the Lady and the Tramp. Just as a trainer, when they first bring Lady home and she cries, they try to leave her in a basket downstairs and she cries. And of course, they reinforce that.
Yeah, and they bring her
and
upstairs.
And then it gets worse and worse and worse, and she ends up in their bed. That could have been featured on our reinforcement episode, right?
Yeah, it could have been. And they totally leaned right into that peer pressure that Lady was giving them.
Yes.
It ended up working out in their advantage because, who doesn't want to sleep with their dog in the bed? But I guess, if it was based off in the early 1900s, it makes sense. Like, you don't have dogs sleep in your bed, I imagine.
Yeah, so that's more of, I think, a 50s vibe than it is an early 1900s vibe.
Like, they
tried. That's interesting that they placed it in the early 1900s, but it's very much has a 50s vibe.
Yeah, because you don't have dogs in the house.
And I think, Gary, weren't Cockers really popular in the 50s?
And in the 60s also, they were really popular.
And that was like their heyday.
Yeah, at one point they were the number one dog in the United States.
So that's Lady and the Tramp, my favorite
All right, what else do you want
dog
to talk
movie.
about?
Well, then I rewatched 101 Dalmatians today, actually.
Yep,
in
I
preparation
listened
for
to some
this.
of it. I didn't listen to all of it.
I do appreciate Disney, and that was in 1961.
Yeah.
So that was about 6 years later. I guess they saved a lot of the animation from Lady and the Tramp because every single dog from Lady and the Tramp makes a cameo.
Yeah, they do. They
Yeah.
do. They have like those stitchets, and it's like side by side, same exact.
Yeah, no,
way.
so they must have saved the actual, drawings and then just replop them in rather than redraw them because it was the bulldog and actually the Borzoi was not in there, but the bulldog and Peg from the Pound and Scotty, of course, and the bloodhound Trusty. They were all, and Lady was in it, and Tramp was in it. They're all in it.
Yeah, they're
they
all in
like
it.
made these little cameos.
And my favorite part of that movie is in the beginning when they're like, "Oh, look, all these owners look like their dogs." I love it because I love going on walks and like comparing to see if like the owner fits with their dog. And it's specifically because of that movie.
Yeah.
Yep. And then that kind of leads us into what's it called, Best in Show.
Oh, well, Best in Show. If you're talking about accuracy, Best in Show is the best dog and person movie. When you're talking specifically about showing dogs in the confirmation ring, they just take whatever, I think they feature like 6 dogs, and they just take the 6 sort of stereotypes of dog, handlers, which is hilarious. It's so accurate. I just love it.
Especially when we went to like Westminster last year. I was like, oh, all these owners look like their dogs. And they all run funny.
If you haven't seen Best in Show, it is a comedy specifically about, it's like a mockumentary, right? Following, I think it's 6 people who their dogs qualify for Westminster. Of course, they don't use the name Westminster because it's a show. They call it the Mayflower, but it's supposed to be a Westminster like dog show, like the biggest dog show in the country. And they sort of follow them through a documentary style. And it's a comedy. It's absolutely hilarious. And everybody is brilliant in it. It's so funny. And if you love dogs, I highly recommend that one.
Yep.
And the dogs are genuine. Actually, they're real show dogs, a bunch of them. They might
really?
have all have been real show dogs. I know the poodle was taken right out of the show ring. She might be retired. And the, I think it was a Norwich Terrier, was a show dog too. Yeah, if you watch any behind the scenes from that movie, the actors will talk about the dogs and how much they love them. And
Oh,
yeah, they were real show dogs.
that's super cool.
And the best scene is, of course, when I forget Levy. What's his name? Eugene Levy. He gets forced in the show ring to handle the dog because his wife gets injured. Catherine O'Hara, the great Catherine O'Hara, and he actually has 2 left feet.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It's so classic. It's a great movie, and it really, I think, features dogs in a very accurate way, unlike some other movies.
Yeah.
Like
Other movies. I do not like Homeward Bound. I know that's like a classic, and everyone's like, "I love that movie," but I don't know. They send the dogs upstate, and then she immediately loses them. The
right,
owner.
she's like Aunt Sarah, right?
Yeah, like what is up with these movies? And immediately they are sent somewhere and they lose them.
Like I think they drive down the road, and before the dust settles, the dogs have already escaped.
Yeah, like what?
And she like waits and then like calls him on the phone, like, "Oh, gee, sorry, I live in the whatever, the Sierras. What mountains was she in? The Sierras?
I don't remember.
That's California, right?
Yeah. That's California.
She's like has a ranch up in the mountains, and the dogs get lost, and she's like, "Yeah, sorry,
Sorry, there's just like mountain lions and things that like could kill your dogs
bears
out
and-
here."
Oh my god. Yeah. So that's an old story. That was a remake. You know that, right?
I didn't know it was a remake.
Yeah.
I just
one.
remember like when we were sick, we would go into your job and we would put this wow, I'm butchering this. VCR tape in, and that was one of the movies that we would watch when we were sick, and it would always make me cry. And I'm like, this doesn't make me feel
it's
better at all.
Definitely a tearjerker.
Oh my god.
When do you think that original? It's originally called The Incredible Journey, not Homeward Bound.
Oh.
Maybe like the 50s or 60s.
Yeah, early.
I think early
early
60s.
60s.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
this. I think it was a bull terrier, Golden Retriever and
some kind of.
a
I think it
cat?
was a tan mixed breed or something. And,
It was definitely a bull terrier. It was
and it
not
was
a
a cat.
bulldog. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a purebred cat. I don't recall.
No. I don't think. I don't think dogs might not have even been purebred.
I feel like it was a purebred bull terrier, but you can look that up. Yeah, so that's why it's
Wait,
called,
in the original or in the one I'm
original.
talking about?
No, in the original.
Oh, okay.
Might not even be a golden, but of course in the remake it's an American bulldog, a golden, and a Siamese.
I thought
sort of
she was a
cat.
rag doll. Didn't she look like Claire's cat? I thought
Yeah,
she
she
looked
looked like kind of
like
a rag
Claire's-
doll.
yeah.
Or
Look
a
at me.
Himalayan.
Yeah, but
Knowing my
short hair.
cats.
She didn't have like super long hair.
No, so she was more like a rag doll.
But the voiceovers for that remake were really spot on.
They were. And apparently throughout most of the movie, the dog, when he like crashed into the tree or like fell or ran, things over, it was all improv. So shout out to the dog and the improv that makes that movie.
Maybe
Yeah.
you went to improv class with Jen.
Yeah, oh my God. Oh gosh, he is funny throughout the entire movie, but they were like, yeah, he was hard to work with. And I was like, yeah, it's a harsh, strong breed.
So I want to say that movie came out in about 92-ish, maybe 91, early 90s. And I was actually working at a human daycare center, and it was summertime. And, we had to do these field trips to take the kids out of daycare and entertain them. And one of them was to go to the movies. And so this is the movie we saw. So I ended up seeing that movie in a theater with my 30 students, and I bawled uncontrollably to where my students were like, Miss Sarah, are you okay? And I'm like, it was so embarrassing. But I mean,
Especially at the end when they're like, oh, he was just too old.
he's too old.
I was
It's
like,
too
shut up.
far.
Shut up.
So it says that the incredible journey, it was a lab, but it looks like a mix, a Siamese cat and a bull terrier.
Bull terrier. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, no,
And it was 1963.
Yeah, I would have said 61. So, yeah, 63. That sounds about right. But that was a Disney one, and then Disney remade it. I think probably the remake is better.
Scarred my childhood.
And when they think Sassy's dead,
I know. It's like they like just, speaking of cheer jerkers, I read the book. Book was amazing. A Dog's Purpose. The book was really good because it's about reincarnation. So you really don't bond with the character as much, but then they made it into a movie, and every other scene they're at the vet putting the dog down, and I'm like, this is the worst movie ever. So you're literally crying because he's dying, and then he gets reincarnated again, and then he dies again and gets reincarnated.
So if you haven't read the book, it is, Sophie's correct, it is there's several, maybe 5 or 6 dog characters, and it's the same dog continually being reincarnated. The first life I think he gets, he's a shelter dog in a pound.
And he immediately gets put to sleep.
As a puppy, they get put in a box and gassed.
Yeah. Horrible start of the movie.
I'm glad I missed that one.
It's a book, so
It's a book.
you'd have to read it.
Yeah, and it's like, you wonder what publishing company was like, yeah, that sounds like a great opening to a book.
Let's start this book nice and hard.
Yeah, and then he gets reincarnated over and over again.
But the second life is the most important life because that's the best life he has, and that was with the boy.
Right.
And he has this the best life with this boy and watches this boy grows, and then he passes away when the boy's like a teenager or something like that.
Right. So then he keeps getting reincarnated with the point being that he hasn't completed his purpose.
Yeah.
And then the last life. Oh, I'm spoiling this for you guys. I'm assuming many of you have read this already
Or watched the movie.
The last life, he gets reunited with the
boy
boy who's now an old man, and then he completes his purpose, dog's purpose.
Oh, it's giving me chills.
And goes to heaven. Yeah, I did not watch the movie. There was some controversy on the movie. Did you know that?
I did not like it. I didn't think the dogs were super accurate to the dogs in the book. I think the book's way better. So if you watch the movie and didn't like it because you were like, this is messed up, the book's way better.
The book is
It doesn't
really
make you cry either because it's a part of life. So they make it really easy when he passes away and gets reincarnated again. Mm-hmm. Where in the movie, they purposely make you cry. Purposely do it. Not my vibe.
The movie I don't think did well because there was some controversial scenes released of them working with the German Shepherd.
Oh, and they just like threw
Yeah,
him
and they
in
kept
the water.
throwing him in the water.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and I was like, "Yep, nope, not supporting that movie."
Yeah, no.
So I don't think the movie did well because of that. But the book is excellent. There's
Yeah.
also another really good book about sled dogs. Remember that one?
Wasn't that Bolto?
No. Well, that's
Bolt.
one. But there's another one where this guy decides to learn how to run sled dogs.
I feel like you read this book to me as a kid.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was good. I don't
I
remember
can't
the
remember
book
the name.
though.
That wasn't a movie, but an excellent book.
Yeah,
I should try to figure out which book it is.
probably some husky.
All right, so we've done Homeward Bound. We've done Lady and the Tramp and 101.
What about you, Dad?
Oh, Mad Max, Road Warrior.
Oh, yeah.
That's-
So we talked about this.
Yeah, because that's when I wanted a cattle dog, Australian cattle dog. When I saw that dog in the movie.
Yeah, she was badass.
Yeah, but what happens? She
Of course. She sacrifices herself for
to
him.
save old Mel Gibson,
Old anti-Semite Mel Gibson.
and bam, she's gone.
No, that was the first time I had ever seen a cattle dog as well.
Yeah, I thought that. I was like, oh, I want one of those. Oh, I want
Yeah,
one
she
of
was
those.
great.
It's like a badass small dog.
And he never names her.
Nope, there's no name.
She doesn't even have a name. But
See,
they're-
but I think that's messed up too, because what human wouldn't name a dog that sacrificed themselves
well,
for him?
he really did love that dog.
Well, he should have named
Mad
her.
Max was a man of few words.
Well, he should have named her Silence or something like that.
Really? He just has 3 lines in it?
I was watching a video. He only has a couple of lines.
Interesting. Yeah, Road Warrior was, what year do you think that was? 84 maybe?
Yeah, it was the second one, so it was. I'm gonna say about.
I'm going to say 84.
I'm gonna say 83, 84, because the first one was out around 80.
Yeah, the first one was terrible. He was dubbed in the first
Yeah,
one.
he was dubbed.
This around 84, which we're assuming that's when it came out, that's when there was very few movies and very few channels on TV. So my generation, Gen X, would have watched Road Warrior many, many, many times because it just got replayed on HBO over and over again because it just was not the kind of content that you have now. So that's just a movie that you never would have even known about except that it played constantly on HBO. So my whole generation has watched Road Warrior over and over and over again because that's all that HBO had on. There was only one channel. HBO only had one channel. HBO, that was it.
And it only started at 8 o'clock at night.
Well, way, way back. But by the time it came to me, it ran 24 hours. But movies that R-rated movies were only aired after 8 p.m. So like during the day, they wouldn't even air R-rated movies. So most of the daytime content was even crappier.
Lame.
It's 81.
All right, so Road Warrior. What else? What else you got, Gary?
Oh, I remember when the original Scooby-Doo came out on TV, and then the Scooby-Doo movie was the best.
You mean the live action one?
Yeah, the live-action Scooby-Doo.
I love that movie.
Yeah,
that was
that's like
great.
one of my
The first
favorite
one was
movies
great.
of all times. I can watch that movie over and over and over and
And
over
of course,
again.
everybody wanted a Great Dane.
Really?
Yeah, because no one, when Scooby-Doo came out, we thought we wanted a Great Dane. At one time, I wanted one, but
feel
then
like
I was too
Scooby-Doo-
big.
He doesn't even look like
He
a
doesn't
Great
even
Dane.
look like a Great Dane.
I know
He's
supposed to be
supposed to be
one,
a
but-
Great Dane.
He's supposed to be one, but like the coloring's off, the ears are off. Like it, he doesn't look like. He looks like maybe like a Great Dane pit mix.
He's
Yeah,
he's a
I-
Merle.
something like
He's a
that.
Merle.
You mean Harlequin?
Yeah, no Merle.
All right, so Scooby-Doo. What else?
Well, speaking of old movies, you talk about Lassie. You can't like talk about this and not talk about Lassie. It's a classic. I have never watched it though, so
Lassie was a TV show, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
was it a TV
watched-
show?
I've watched the movie Lassie, both movies. I
But
watched.
which came out first? The
the
TV
movie
show?
came out first,
And then it became a TV show.
and then it became a TV show in the 50s, and in the 60s it was a TV show, and I think in the 70s
Yeah, I think it kept getting
they
rebooted.
just kept. And then Lassie was supposed to be a female, but they found out that the males were easier to train, so they used Lassie as
cattle
male
dogs.
dog.
I also feel like it had something to do with coat.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah,
it was
yeah.
longer too, so you wouldn't be able to tell what kind of dog it was.
Or if it were male or female, yeah.
But the males had like a longer, silkier
longer,
coat than the
yeah.
females, because the females you would assume would be intact.
So they were
whatever.
always-
So they were like losing their coats, and like we've discussed in previous episodes. That I have to say that does really, really annoy me in movies in general when the character, the animal character, is supposed to be female and they insert a male in there instead. They're in the miniseries Lonesome Dove. The
horse. Yep.
The Hell Bitch. Her name is Hell Bitch.
And they made it a male.
And they made it a gelding because supposedly geldings are easier to work with. But you can really see with a horse that it's not female, which really annoys me. So that does bother me. And it does bother me in like 101 Dalmatians and in a lot of these
Isle
movies.
of Dogs.
Yeah, there's so few female characters.
I feel like that's with like a large percentage of movies.
Like, okay, they had 14 puppies in 101 Dalmatians.
And
15 puppies.
2 females, and one of them was only a main character, and that was it.
Yeah, like there's Penny, I think, of the puppies. You would assume that she's female. And maybe Freckles was female, but the rest of the puppies were male. So you're supposed to convince me that dog had 13 males and 2 females? Come on.
I mean, we can't really talk that much because we had a litter of all females.
Yeah, but Perdita and Pongo didn't have a big age gap.
That's true. They were supposed to be close in age, so it should be even amount.
I did read a very brief article on the work that Dalmatian breeders did when the live action 101's Dalmatians came out. There was 2 or 3.
Yeah.
The breeders and the Breed Club of America did a lot of educational work to try to convince people to not buy Dalmatians because they are not the easiest dogs.
They have aggression in their bloodlines,
They do
right?
have, throughout their bloodlines, they definitely have some aggression in there. But, they're just not...
High drive, high energy.
They're just not easy dogs. They're wonderful when they're wonderful, but they're not for the average owner in general. They're not a Labrador with spots, in other words. And this article was just talking about how much work the Breed Club did around that and was able to not have some big flood of Dalmatian puppies at pet stores and whatnot when all that went on, which, is commendable.
For sure, because that happens every single time.
It happened during Babe with the Border Collies. Yep.
Didn't it happen with, oh my gosh.
Well, it certainly happened with Lassie. Collies were very, very popular during Lassie. What was the one before that? The German Shepherd, the very classic German Shepherd.
Oh, Rin Tin Tin.
Rin Tin Tin,
Yeah.
So, of course, that can spell doom for a breed when they have a very popular movie and people rush out to get that dog thinking they're getting one thing and they, in fact, get a purebred with all of the wiring that we talked about.
I think that's why
episodes.
It's always important to do your research.
Yeah, because when I was a kid, all you saw were basically everybody had collies and German shepherds, and then you had a lot of collie German shepherd mixes.
Yep. That was very much a 70s
you
thing.
saw
for sure.
70s and 60s.
I personally love collies. We have 2 Shelties here staying with us right now. I love the long snoot.
The snoot. It's about the snoot, man.
It is about the snoot.
I mean, I do love their snoot, but I wouldn't want to own their snoot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm happy to have these guys visit and then go home at the end of their stay.
I like a stocky head.
All right, what other movies you got on your list there?
Okay, so this movie is gonna get me rambling. Marley and Me.
Ugh.
I hate Marley and Me. I'm sorry for all you people who like it, but I think it's the whole movie. The guy does nothing for that dog. He doesn't train her. He doesn't. He reinforces all the negative stuff, and then he blames the dog and is like, the dog's an asshole. And I'm just like, the dog's not an asshole. You didn't put any work into this dog. And then, it's all about all the mischief that this dog gets into because he didn't do any training for the dog.
Isn't it hilarious that she,
Steals
tore the house
food
apart
and tore the house,
ran away and did all that stuff. It's hilarious. The book was exactly the same, by the way.
Yeah, like what? And then at the end, when she's dying, they're like, oh, we loved her so much. Throughout the entire movie, you called her an asshole. Throughout the entire movie, you blamed everything on her when it was you. You're the problem.
I agree. I think that's a real example of poor portrayal of a dog. Unless you're looking at it going, I agree. And then at the end, they're crying over her. It's
Yeah,
like,
like,
dude,
what?
you've been pulling your hair out for whatever, you figure
Years.
13 years. You know, she's such a difficult dog because you refuse to do any kind
The
of logical
bare
work.
minimum,
Yeah,
you mean?
the bare minimum. That's a good way to put it.
The bare minimum.
And then you make us cry at the end. It's low hanging fruit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super low hanging fruit. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Never watching that movie ever again.
No, I agree. I actually have a problem with anybody who calls their dog a jerk. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, can Deacon be a jerk sometimes? Yes, but he is not a jerk of a dog.
No.
He can just have days where he's not
Can,
very nice.
Can I be a jerk sometimes? Yes. Can
But
you
you-
be a jerk sometimes?
but you're not a
yes.
jerk.
But I'm not a jerk of a person. It's just, a personality trait which comes out. Your dog's not like their whole personality isn't a jerk.
Yeah.
So I get really frustrated with that.
Yeah, well, with Aussies, there's, Facebook pages called, Facebook groups called Aussholes.
Yeah, that annoys
Come
me
on.
so
They
much.
sell sweatshirts that say, mom of an asshole. I hate that shit. If you're going to call your dog breed an asshole, don't get another breed, please.
Yep.
But stay away from my dogs.
Yep, I agree.
It took a turn.
Right? Also, to go on this turn, in Peter Pan, they are so mean to Nanny, the Saint
are.
Bernard. They're so mean to her. I rewatched it and I was like, oh, they like knock over the blocks and then the mom's yelling at her. And I'm just like, she's just trying to straighten up the house because you can't watch your own kids and the dog has to do it for you.
Interesting. I haven't watched Peter Pan in many years.
Yeah, rewatch it because it's traumatizing in more than one aspects. But the dog, man, it upsets me. And then they leave her outside on the chain because the dad knocks over the blocks that she fixed up the whole room. The dad comes in all charged up, knocks over everything, and then blames it on the dog when she fixed everything.
Oh.
Yeah, and then throws her outside. And then all the kids are going and they're like, bye, Nanny. And they're
Nice.
waving back and she's floating up in the air because they gave her the fairy dust and but she's on the chain, so she's waving goodbye. That's the end of Nanny. That's the end of her.
That's terrible.
I know.
I don't remember that. That's
It's terrible.
Gary thinks that's funny. Not funny.
That's messed up.
Right? Oh, can you imagine poor Bubby? I just think of Bubby.
Right?
Goodbye.
Oh, poor Bucky.
She's still out there somewhere.
Right? Oh, man.
All right, so what else you got?
What else? Kind of going back to Disney, one of the movies I do not like is The Fox and the Hound. That was just a cruel movie also.
That's a movie I refuse to watch.
Oh my gosh, because, the whole movie is about this hound who goes into the woods and he makes friends with this fox. And they're both like a puppy and a cub, I guess. A cub is a baby fox?
No,
Kit? Okay. A puppy and a kit. And they become friends and they would secretly go in the woods and like play with each other and stuff. And then the dog turns into a foxhound and his job is supposed to be hunting the fox. And the fox that he grew up with, he has to go and hunt him. And then at the last scene, the owner's like, kill the fox, blah 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 blah. And he saves his friend the fox. And that's the end of the movie. That's the whole movie. Trauma.
Yeah. I kind of knew the storyline, so I was like, yeah, no, not for me.
Oh my gosh, that was definitely a big one in my childhood.
I feel like that was an 80s animation too, and I was kind of a snob about it.
I just remember like watching the previews.
On the VHS
On
tapes.
the VHS tapes, yeah, watching those previews, like what the heck, man, this is messed up. I'm trying to think of Old Yeller. That's trauma too. I don't think anyone's ever watched Old Yeller and was like, yeah, this was a great movie. No, it's a horrible movie. Another horrible movie.
I think every kid that's watched Old Yeller has a searing memory in it about it.
Gosh.
I mean, I have two searing memories from Old Yeller. One is the boar scene, right? Doesn't Old Yeller save him from the wild boars?
Old Yeller saves that kid a lot, I'm pretty sure, throughout the whole movie.
But that's scene I remember. And then, of course, the scene where he has to...
Put him down.
Yeah. I mean...
Gosh.
Disney's like that, though. Disney likes to rip your heart out.
Yeah, they like to kill the parents. Yeah, kill the dogs at the end.
Like,
Make you cry.
oh, look, this boy learned an important lesson. In order to be a man, you have to murder your own dog because it got rabies.
Yeah, like, what the heck, man?
Like,
I don't remember, like, Alma showed me that, which is my grandma. She showed me, she was like, oh, this is a great movie. You love dogs. And I was like, I just remember, like, crying in the living room. And she's like, it's fine, it's fine. She couldn't calm me down. I remember going to sleep and then having nightmares about, like, getting rabies and, like, trying to save my dogs who got rabies.
oh my
And
gosh.
oh, like, that was, like, a recurring nightmare.
But Disney was great for that because they also did that with the Yearling.
Yearling is
And they
basically
had
the same movie.
The same movie, just with a deer. And he ended up killing the deer at the
Because
end.
the deer kept jumping over the fence, eating the crops.
And into their crops.
And they kept building the fence higher and higher, and the deer kept. So again, apparently the message was, in order to be a man,
You gotta
this
kill it.
boy had to go kill his
Kill
pet
his-
deer.
Lord have
Own
mercy.
pet deer.
Yeah, it's horrible. But we watched, those were 70s movies, Disney movies. Again, that would be on like Sunday Night Disney. Remember that, Gary?
Yeah.
Every
What's it? The Wonderful World,
of Disney. Every Sunday night at 7 o'clock. I want to say in Channel 2, but I could be wrong about that.
Channel 4.
Channel 4. And they would feature movies like that. But that was a mainstay for, I don't know, maybe a decade. Jen and I would, Mama would get pizza on Sunday nights, and we could watch TV, and eat our dinner, which we never were able to do. We always had to eat at the table. But Sunday nights you could have pizza and watch the I can't even say it.
Wonderful World of Disney.
There you go. You got any other movies for us?
I remember as a kid, I don't remember too much about it, but I remember my grandmother took us to go see Sounder.
Oh my God. I mean, that's just torture.
Yeah,
I mean, that.
we were like little kids. I think I was about 12, and we went to see Sounder, which was kind of like the same thing, and that was just.
Okay, so let's talk about Sounder. Sounder was Reconstruction or during slavery?
No, it was Reconstruction. It was after.
And Sounder was a hound dog that belonged to
they were like
a sharecropper.
sharecroppers. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this sounds
No,
horrible.
it's a rough. It's classic.
Rough. It's like
It's a classic piece of literature that all kids, young adults should read as part of, learning about the United States and stuff. Maybe in middle school. But it is a rough read. I read that to Jacob too. And I'm like, when does this book get better? It just kept getting worse. It's horrible. It's really a rough. Doesn't the dog get like beaten to death?
Yeah, I think.
Oh my
I think
God.
he dies at the end, but it was like the dog went to look for the father. It was like a weird.
Oh, it was
the father
rough.
goes to jail. It's kind of weird.
Rough.
Yeah, hard.
And
I think we cried at the end. Me and Julie were like crying. I was like, oh my.
yeah, no,
goodness.
that's not not a fun day out for sure.
Let's go to
It
the
definitely
movies.
should be read by maybe tweens with a big trigger warning. What you're about to read. And the other one, it's very much like that. Is what was the other one we're talking about with the beagle? Shiloh.
Shiloh, yeah.
That's a great book. That is about a beagle and a boy, and the beagle ran away from its owner, who's the boy's neighbor, who has been abusing this dog, beating this dog, and whatnot. And the boy hides the dog and it's like a moral dilemma. Do I hide the dog and lie about it and protect the dog, or do I have to tell the truth and put the dog back in this situation where it gets beaten?
See, but that is a good coming of age story because it's about morals and whatever
no, it's a great
philosophy, right?
It's a rough read, though.
Rough read, but at least better than to be a man you have to kill your dog who saved you countless times. To be a man you got to kill the dog. No, I don't have to kill the dog. I just have to do the morally right thing.
Well, the question in Shiloh is, what is the moral thing? Is it being honest, or is it protecting the dog?
Protecting the dog, obviously.
Well, that's a moral choice, right? But I read that to Jacob. He was, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9. Do you remember this? Do you remember reading this to you? No. And I cried through the entire book. I had a hard time getting through reading every night. I mean, I just would sob reading about this.
And Jacob's
freaking
just
dog.
sitting there playing with action figures.
It's probably why he doesn't remember it, because I didn't understand half of what I was saying. So I was trying to read through my tears. God.
Oh man, I always think another moral dilemma is in Annie.
Mm-hmm.
When those kids are torturing the dog and like tied all those cans to the dog, and she runs and she like punches that kid in the face. I was like, yeah, that's how I knew I was gonna like this movie.
Tom Dog, why are you following me? Yeah, so that's Sandy. So that was a big deal in the 70s because Annie was on Broadway, right, Gary?
Yeah, Annie was on Broadway
time.
through the 70s, and then by
Then
80,
the big movie that they
came
made,
out.
and so Sandy was a big deal. Sandy had written a book and all this stuff. I have the book. It's probably in my stuff.
Oh my
on
gosh.
my price date. Like the paw print on the back of it. Yeah, it was like a big deal. Sandy was a big deal. And then consequently, people wanted these big, shaggy type dogs, which is probably the same people who have doodles now. Because it was kind of like a F1 doodle, you know?
Well, was it a sheepdog mix? I always thought
I don't know
of
what
her
mix
as
she was, but it was that big, hairy, messy dog that people are so attracted to.
Yeah, people love her.
Beige colored.
I don't particularly, that's not a look for me at all, but I really feel like the same people who liked that look in the 70s like the doodle look now.
Yeah.
Like a big...
Well, they have that one doodle on like TikTok. I always forget his name, and he's always on the guy's bike, and the guy brushes him out, and he's all big and shaggy. And I was like, yeah, he always reminds me of Sandy.
Yeah, it's not my cup of tea, but you know,
people love them.
I know people love those
They
big
love
shaggy
them.
dogs.
I mean, to me, it seems like a lot of work and a lot of money to get that maintenance. But you know, for each their own, right? I mean, that's why we make all these breeds, so you can pick exactly what you want. But yeah, that was definitely a memorable one. Is Sandy put him up? Pick on someone your own size. Put him up, and she punched that kid right in the face who fell in the garbage can. He's like, "Oh, we gotta get out of here, guys."
Yeah, unfortunately, Daddy Warbucks let her bring Sandy.
Yep. Why does it smell like wet dog?
It's a great movie.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah. What's the woman's name?
Oh, I love her. Didn't she die young?
She did. Well, she was in her 60s, but she was just the most beautiful dancer.
She was.
She was an icon. Can't think of her name right now.
She just recently died, not that long
Yeah, she
ago.
died in COVID.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not
it
that
was
long
sad.
ago.
We got Annie.
Yeah. God, she was gorgeous.
Was it Anne something?
Anne Ranking.
Yeah.
Oh, there
And
you go.
She was, what's this guy? The jazz hands guy?
Oh, and all that jazz.
What's his name?
Fosse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bob Fosse. That was
Fosse,
one
yeah.
of his muses.
Yeah.
She was married to him for a period of time when she was very young. And
Well,
he
she was in that movie, All That Jazz.
Yeah. She was a beautiful dancer and so great in Annie. All right,
was.
we're getting off topic.
Yep.
You got anything else?
Let me see. We could talk about Winn-Dixie.
Oh, that's a good one. That was
Yeah.
a great book. The movie did not measure up to the book, but the book was wonderful.
I
I
don't
read all
remember a
these to
lot
Jacob.
about it. You read Winn-Dixie to me, and then we watched the movie when it came out in theaters. But I don't remember too much about it. I just know it's about the girl and another shaggy dog, right? Isn't Winn-Dixie shaggy dog?
Mm-hmm. I feel like she's like in the midst of her family's getting divorced.
Yeah,
or
something like that, and she finds this dog, and
Yeah,
that's a good
because of
one.
Winn-Dixie. That's a
Because of
good one.
Winn-Dixie, yep. That was a book. And then I know this is definitely not your guys' generation, but Jacob remembers this. Hotel for Dogs. Oh man, I loved Hotel for Dogs. They have the
Now,
little
wait, was
Boston
that-
Terrier.
Was that live action? Was that animation?
It was live action.
Okay.
They featured a lot of different dog breeds. I don't remember
I
if
think there's an Aussie in it, isn't there?
I think there's an Aussie
'Cause
in
I think
it.
you said to me at the time, that's the one I want. That it was a blue merle.
No, that was in Marley and Me. That beautiful blue Merle Aussie and Marley. I'm not Marley and Me. What's the one with the Great Dane? Marmaduke. Yeah,
Yes,
Marmaduke.
yes,
That's
Marmaduke.
and then we ended up getting Aussie right after I said something like that, and I was like, oh, this was my decision, and then you told me your reason why, and I was like, oh, it wasn't my idea.
Sophie asked for a dog, so I went out and bought them and then decided to breed them.
Yeah,
Because
well,
you're so spoiled that way.
Well, I just thought like, I don't know, we were gonna get border collies, so then I was like, we should get this dog, and then you were like, oh yeah, that is a pretty dog, and then you went online and we got Ruby. And it turns out it was because of that dog you met on the beach in Florida. So I didn't know that, even though I was there when we met the dog. I just didn't think it was an Aussie. It was a red tri. I didn't know anything about dogs like that. Anyways.
Pivotal moments.
Yep. But Hotel for Dogs was super cool. Oh yeah, look at the cast. They have a Beauceron, Bulldog, Border
What is this,
Collie,
Marmaduke you're looking at?
Pug.
Or Hotel
This
for
is
Dogs?
Hotel for Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Chihuahua, of course, a pity. Boston Terrier.
This is something like the kids are saving the dogs.
Yeah, they're saving all the dogs from the pound, and they make a hotel out of like this abandoned hotel, and then they make all these things for the dogs. So they made like a bathroom, so they would.
Do the dogs talk?
The dogs don't talk. They don't talk. They don't talk.
To each other, they do.
They talk to each other, but they don't talk to
like
the
their
humans.
mouths don't move and stuff.
No, they don't move, but like I guess Jacob says they talk to each other, but I don't remember that. But they make like a poop station, so they would poop and then it would get pre-bagged and it would go right into the garbage. And then they made this invention where they would have like drive-in movies, and they would have like all these car door seats and put like wind fans to simulate like they were like out the window of a car, so they didn't have to leave the hotel. They had everything in the hotel. And then when people would come in and investigate, they would have a whole thing where they would have to hide in different rooms and stuff. But like as a kid, I was like, oh, this is so cool. They invented all these cool things. They had like
sound like cool inventions to me.
they had like my favorite one was the doorbell one. So like dogs would wait in line on each side, and then the doorbell would ring, and they would run and bark at the door, and the door would open, and they would run out. And then
God, that sounds like hell for me.
they would like take turns doing it. So they created
That's
they
really
were
funny.
super inventive. Yeah, super
Then,
cool.
McDonald's, you'd get the dog and the thing that they would go with, the little invention that they would go
Yeah,
Oh,
they
like in the Happy Meal, you would get Hotel for Dogs.
yeah, and they were like little stuffies of the
oh
dogs.
my God, I would have
Yeah.
died when I was a kid.
Oh, me! I think we made Amma go. I think I had the whole limited collection. Yeah, I would be like, Amma, we have to go to McDonald's, and then I would make her ask to get the certain ones from the box. So I had each one of them.
You had a good grandma.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think that's like, I think we talked everything on my list.
All right, so we haven't covered some stuff. I think we've covered a lot of movies. But what were you talking about just now? You were talking about Run Joe Run?
Run Joe
Well, that
Run.
was the 70s, right?
Which was the 70s. Which
TV
was
show.
TV show, which was about a German Shepherd who was accused
Of killing
killing
his trainer?
his owner, or attacking his owner. And it was, a chase. You had
Right, it's
they
like,
were like the military, because he was a military dog, and they were chasing after him.
It was like, what's that movie with Harrison Ford that was where he loses, or he's saying that a guy with one arm killed
Oh
his-
yeah, it was like The Fugitive.
Right, it was
yeah,
like The
was
Fugitive,
based
but for
yeah,
dogs.
Yeah, The Fugitive. Oh, the Incredible Hulk TV show
Right.
where they were just, someone was always chasing after them.
And I would
And
assume he would meet
meet
new
pe-
owners every
meet
week.
new people, and then help them, and then it would move on to something else.
Aw, that's nice. I remember the name. It must have been the early 70s because I don't
Yeah, it
ever
was
really remember watching it.
I remember it was in mid 70, like 74, 75. I
Yes,
think
I
it
would
only
have
had
been
like
too
2
young for that.
seasons, and it was one of those Saturday morning
Oh.
TV shows.
I do remember that name. What was the other one I just mentioned?
I don't remember. I wasn't really paying attention. Sorry.
What I got so excited about? What the hell?
You were literally just. I thought it was what Dad was talking about. Run
No.
the bionic dog.
Oh, the Bionic Dog.
There you go.
Right. Okay, so the 70s we had the $6 Million Man, right? That was the first one. And then the Bionic Woman, who was Jamie Lee. What was her name?
What was her name? I forgot.
I loved her. Yeah, I think she was Jamie. Her character's name was Jamie Summers, right?
Jamie Summers, yeah.
And then she had a dog, Max, who was the Bionic Dog.
And he got hit by a car or something.
And they made him into a bionic dog.
Bionic dog.
Oh man!
And his
And he
name
was a
was-
German Shepherd, of course, because it was the 70s.
Yeah, of course,
and
of
you had to
course.
be a German Shepherd. He was awesome.
And his name was Maximilian, because it cost $1 million to rebuild him.
I think that is when I fell in love with German Shepherds. I was like, ooh, when I ended up getting a German Shepherd, that's what I thought of. Max from Bionic Max. I don't think I feel like he was like Batgirl. He wasn't in every episode.
No.
But he would feature once
You
in a
would
while.
see him, sometimes you'd see him in the corner laying down or something. He wasn't in any.
Yeah, so it was like Batgirl, like in the beginning of Batman, the TV show, sometimes you'd see Batgirl drive across the screen and you'd be like, oh, she's in this episode. You'd always watch that for Batgirl. That was like Max in the Bionic series. But he was with Jamie Summers.
Yeah,
he was Jamie's dog.
He was Jamie's dog.
Yeah. So what did you want to talk about? Up?
Up, of course, because I mean, with the little dog thing,
With the interpreter?
yeah,
The
the
little
interpreter.
translator?
Oh my god, it's so good. Like, and I don't know. Like, once again, Disney tear jerking you know, because it has all these dogs in it, and then the wife dies in the beginning because they have to kill people.
Didn't they have bad dogs? The bad dogs like chased after him or something.
Yeah, they had those. What was it? Doberman.
Was it Doberman
And a Roddy and
dogs,
something else, and then the
And
Doberman.
what was his name? Doug? D-U-G, Doug?
Yeah, and then
His voice was always like this because his translator was broken.
and so he was supposed to have this like super deep voice, but his translator was always broken, so he had this like mousy voice the
And
whole
they would
time.
be talking to you, and all of a sudden they'd go, squirrel!
And look in the it's such a good movie.
That was a brilliant movie on portraying what you would, as a human, imagine dogs were thinking.
Yep. One of my all-time favorite movies, kind of like completely changing topics, is The Lucky One. And like, yes, I know it's not completely about dogs, but it's kind of like, for me, like the ultimate romance, because he comes back from war after like having this picture of this woman, and that's like his lucky star of being able to get through like 3 tours in like Afghanistan. And then he comes back to his German Shepherd, and him and his German Shepherd literally walk across the entire United States to this woman who owns a kennel where she does board and train. And he goes to the board and train, and instead of like him being like I just want to thank you for like saving me, like this is like my lucky thing, she's like, oh well, I need help like at the boarding kennel. And because his dog was so well trained, because it's an awesome dog, he trains all the dogs there and like helps build the kennel, and then they fall in love and all this stuff. But it starts out with the dog.
This is a pretty recent movie. Who's
like
the main star?
2015,
Who's
I
the guy in
think.
it?
Zac Efron.
I was going to say it.
Duh.
Zac Efron.
It's
Yeah.
partly why I really like it, because Zac
When he
Efron's
looked
in it.
normal.
When he looked normal, yeah. When we liked him. Yeah, I know. Now his face is
Then
all
you got
funny
also
looking.
you got the movies where the dog was the villain.
Movies.
Cujo.
Oh, have you ever seen Cujo?
I have not seen Cujo.
Cujo.
You should watch Cujo.
I'm-
So that's a Stephen King book, and the premise is a woman and her son drive out. I think it takes place in New Hampshire, because most of his books take place in New
everything's
Hampshire.
in New Hampshire.
They drive out to this
Mechanic shop.
mechanic shop in the middle of nowhere in New Hampshire, right, to get their car fixed. And unbeknownst to them, their Saint Bernard is infected with rabies, and there's of course no cell phones, and they're trapped in this car because this dog's trying to kill them. Of course, it's not a realistic portrayal of rabies in a dog.
And Saint Bernards,
He
so
gets
they
it
would
too
never
fast.
hurt
Well,
any
if they
of
were
them.
rabid, sure.
Really?
Well, all dogs.
Like a Saint Bernard, though? Like, I feel like they're so mellow. Like, I don't know.
Well,
I feel like
if
I
you-
could outrun a Saint
Jacob
Bernard.
can speak to this.
Rabies, it's not. Like
It's neurological.
Yeah, everyone will act the same when they're affected by rabies.
But it's
Even
a,
people.
But like they would like straight out like run like a lunatic at you.
yes,
Like
yes.
really? Like
Yeah,
a Saint Bernard?
but it's only a small
Window.
part, and that's right before they die. Right? It's like
Oh.
very advanced stage of rabies. That's when they become aggressive and they do crazy things and they try to attack you. There's this absolutely horrific story of a woman who was attacked by a raccoon, a rabid raccoon. Just happened, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. And they're beating this raccoon with a shovel, and this thing won't die. I mean,
Oh
it
my
was like a
gosh.
freaking movie.
Oh, that looks like a scary movie.
Yeah, it's totally
my
scary.
God.
It's
No, it's
horrible.
scary.
I mean, it's a good movie because it's not a realistic portrayal of basically anything, but it's a Stephen King movie, and it's a classic, and it's probably pretty hokey at this point.
Yeah, but
What other movies were dogs the bad guys?
Oh, let me see.
Dogs are always the good guys.
Well, I mean that we would like to think of, but there's probably a fair bit of movies where dogs are bad.
No,
Like there's
never.
this whole scene in like The Walking Dead where like these dogs are like trying to like kill them, and they literally shoot them all. And I remember being like upset, but also like the dogs were kind of trying to kill them. So I'm like, you gotta eat, man. Survival of the fittest.
They weren't zombie dogs.
They weren't zombie dogs but they were eating all the carcasses.
There is a zombie dog in I Am Legend.
Oh, I Am Legend, that
Yeah.
beautiful female German Shepherd.
And they did use a female, I believe.
Yeah, she was gorgeous, and of course she dies.
Well, isn't there that one with what's his name, Smith?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's that movie. Oh, okay. Oh, she turns into a zombie. I thought she would stay with him for most of the.
No, don't they?
She gets infected, and then he kills her.
He kills her. He strangles her.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
after she saves her.
see,
He saves
bullshit.
Yeah, no,
her. Yeah.
that was the dog was the only good part of that movie.
Ugh.
And he had her since she was a puppy.
Oh!
When the whole thing started. She was
Great
like a
to
little
know.
puppy.
Great to know. Fuck. What the hell?
Then you get the good the ones where you ever see Frankenweenie?
Oh yeah, that was a
Yeah.
classic Halloween movie, right?
Yeah, where the kid's dog gets run over. He's a dachshund and he gets run over, and the kid brings him back to life like Frankenstein.
Yep.
That's like animation or
Yeah.
Well, the first
claymation or
it was the
something.
first.
Claymation?
What's
The first one wasn't though. It was it was live, wasn't it?
It was a live action.
Yeah.
It was the first movie of what's the guy who does all the weird movie. What's his name? Tim Burton. That was his first movie, but it was live action, and then they did it over again in animation.
Yeah.
It's also a Tim Burton movie.
Frankenweenie.
Frankenweenie. Nice. Well, I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of movies where the dogs are the bad guys.
Pet Cemetery. It's not a dog, it's a cat.
Because the cat.
Pet Cemetery has the cat, right?
Yeah, but that's also Stephen King.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably a bunch we just don't want to think about.
Well, then it was the
would watch
Disney.
them.
What was it? Disney did the movie. I remember it was like in the 70s. The Doberman Gang, where they taught Dobermans how to rob banks.
This is a movie, or
Yeah,
was it a
mo-
reality show?
No, it was a movie. It was a movie. Like the Incredible Doberman.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah,
That
and
must have
they
been
taught
early
them how,
70s.
Yeah, 70s, and they taught the Doberman Gang.
You know, a side note, you know what would be really funny for Halloween is you know in Pocahontas, the bad guy who has the pug?
Uh-huh.
I feel like Poppy should dress up like that bad guy with Maisie.
Can be his pug.
Yeah, wouldn't that be so funny? Oh man.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about, well,
Technically, the pug was bad in that.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which was what, early 60s?
Late 60s.
Late 60s? That's a great movie.
They have a dog.
If you guys
in that
haven't
one?
seen that movie, forever, it's definitely worth another look. It's a masterful movie. Anyway, they have an Old English sheepdog in
Yep.
that one. And I love watching that dog because there's one scene where a whole bunch of dogs are let loose in the candy store, the candy shop, or whatever it is. And the dogs are running it's supposed to be very chaotic. The dogs are running all over the place. And that Old English sheepdog, there's dancers, and the dancer, accidentally backs the Old English sheepdog into a corner, and she tries to bite him. And they kept it in the movie. But you have to watch the background. And, I mean, she goes after him.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. Super accurate for an Old English sheepdog.
Exactly.
So
I love to watch for that scene. But
Yep.
she was a good dog in that, too.
she was. She created the Tooth Sweets, but for
Yes.
dogs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Her name was probably Nanny, too. Something like
Yeah,
that.
I remember. They used to have these movie of the weeks in the 70s. There was always a movie that came on, and they had one movie that I remember seeing, and it was called White Dog.
I knew you were going to bring that up. I don't know if we should talk about that.
Yeah, that
movie.
White Dog
It's just
movie.
called White Dog.
and the dog was a bad dog in that.
But
I
only
remember that.
okay. So let me give you the premise. This is
I
a
remember.
theory that you can. So this was the 70s. So this came off the heels of the civil
Civil
rights
rights.
movement, right? And how they were using German shepherds in whatever when they were sicking German shepherds on civil rights
Oh yeah.
protesters, black people in particular, right? So it came right off of that. So the theory is that you can make a dog racist, right? By, as a puppy, as a young dog, only letting, in this case, black people beat the dog, right? So then they start to associate black people with bad, right? So that's called a white dog. It's a real thing. It's really controversial and disturbing, and people are effed in the head for even thinking of such a thing. But there was a movie on that, and the movie premise is this guy's like, well, I can retrain this dog to not, and the dog happened to be a white German Shepherd, to not hate black people. And he's a black trainer, I think, right?
Well, I remember what I kind of
I feel like
remember
it was
was
Christy McNichol. Am
yeah,
I right?
yeah. She
I
adopts.
pulled that out of my
She
butt.
adopts the dog from like I don't know what happened, but she adopts the dog from like the shelter, and she didn't know it was a white dog, that, and it just like kept going after, like he was sweet and everything with her and everything.
And then he would become vicious.
And then
with-
become vicious when
with black
like
people.
somebody black walked around. It was
Right.
a
So
weird
then
movie.
it doesn't end well.
Nope.
It doesn't end well.
Nope.
And that's the
No.
last scene. But I do remember seeing that movie and being very disturbed by the whole movie. So it's something that I remember. I've only ever watched it once, but I still remember it. And I was waiting for your father to bring that shit up. I knew he would. If I let it go long enough, he would bring that up.
Yeah.
Well,
white
you,
dog.
you know what? All they needed was a couple hush puppies.
Right.
A couple hush puppies. That dog won't be a white dog anymore.
That's true. That's true. Well, let's end with something positive. We got something positive to end with?
We could talk about Bluey. I haven't seen it, but I heard it's like a really, really good kid show.
Oh, people love Bluey.
People love Bluey.
And it's a family of dogs.
Family of dogs, and they're all blue healers.
I did it first.
What do you mean you did it first?
Bluey. It's my stuffed animal.
Oh.
Yeah, he did. He couldn't. Well,
So
no, he's a
it is
hound.
an Australian kids show, and they are Australian cattle dog. It's a
Yep.
family. It's animation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard it's really good. I did actually watch a bunch of clips when they were gonna move or something. It was like the season finale. And
Yeah.
I just watched the clips on TikTok and I was crying. I was like, jeez.
I know, it's supposed to be a kid's show, and everyone's like, if you want your kid to watch a good TV show, watch Bluey. And I don't know, I've just heard really, really good things. They have Australian Shepherds in it. They have Border Collies in it. Yeah, they have a whole bunch of
To be
different
fair,
dog
the
breeds in
animation doesn't look anything like it. It barely looks like a dog, but whatever. It's not like it's good
just
animation.
the TV show Bluey. Gosh.
Well, when I have grandchildren, I'm sure I will watch Bluey with
Yeah,
them.
I imagine that's definitely going to be the first TV show I show my kids.
They're gonna be like, Amma, I don't want to watch Homeward Bound again. I'd be like,
We're watching it. Sit down and shut up.
Yeah, my poor childhood with Homeward Bound.
But then you got movies where the dogs were good. Like, what was it? The animated one? All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Oh, but
I refuse to watch that one too.
that
'cause
one's
that
sad.
was really sad.
It's really sad, and well, it's super duper sad because at the end he's oh well, I see you again, and he goes, oh yeah, I'll see you again, and then he dies, and you're like, oh my
Yeah, no, I
god.
refuse to watch that too.
That one's really sad. And then the girl who voice acts in that got like murdered by her dad.
Oh my god. I'm trying to end on a good note.
I'm trying to end on
How
a
are we
good
gonna
note,
come up
and
with
then-
another movie to end on a good note.
Sorry.
Jeez, Louise.
She does. I watched a whole documentary on it. It was horrible.
Jeez. All right. Well, I think we've depleted our movie supply.
Couldn't think of
It's a good thing Daddy was here to pull out the ones from the 60s and 70s and wipe off the cobwebs and talk about them. And you talked about stuff from your childhood.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of modern stuff.
There's a lot of good dog movies out there.
There are. There's a lot. Like honestly, like as we were going through it, like I checked everything off my list. I didn't think we were going to talk about all these movies.
So
Oh,
you
we
know, you
can
got a lot. You got all the police ones.
Oh, like
Turner
Turner
and
and
Hooch.
Hooch. Yeah, that's sad. That's
Yeah.
kind of a one where he's like, kind of like Marley and Me, like pulling his hair out. Like, this dog's so terrible. And it's a Dog de Bordeaux. That's the way they are.
Yep.
And he ends up getting a puppy in the end after Turner. No, Hooch. Hooch
Hooch, yeah.
sacrifices his life
So
for him.
everybody's.
That's a good
always-
movie, though. It's a good movie. It's a lot of slobber jokes.
Mm.
With the dog shaking his head and slobber flying everywhere.
Ugh.
That's a good one. All right, you're gonna say something really awful about
No,
that, Sophie? Or can we end?
I'm trying to be quiet because
All right. Well, I think we've gone through most of the American movie list,
at least the basic ones.
the most popular dog movies that have formed us, been pivotal in our decisions in life.
Jacob, do you have anyone we didn't mention?
Not really.
Okay.
So let's go get some Scooby snacks.
Scooby snacks. So they used to have those Scooby snack biscuits. And this one time I ate all the Scooby snacks and I put actual dog biscuits and gave it to Jacob. And he ate them.
Did you know this?
She's a horrible sister.
Did you know this?
Probably.
He ate the first one and said, "These don't taste right."
My God, you are a terrible sister. What is wrong with you? I feel like I have failed as a parent.
Oh my gosh.
You're lucky I didn't find out about that till now.
It's when we had the old dog jar.
You wonder why I love him more. I mean, come on.
Damn! Just admit that on the podcast. Monica, see? You heard it. Now it's on tape.
All right, so this is our season finale, guys. We will be back for season 2 sometime in the summer, I hope. We, of course, we're always open to episode ideas for season 2, so send them our way. And we just wanted to thank everybody for listening this season. It's been really fun, no, Soph?
Yeah, I've had a great time.
Yeah. I think we got good at just talking. We were actually talking about this episode and what we were going to talk about, and I was like, we need to stop talking about this and just record.
Yeah. Yeah, it tends to work better when we just like come on here unscripted and don't like try too hard because
for sure,
you know, it's just our true authentic selves.
For better or worse.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, thanks for joining us on this episode, Gary Brown.
Thank you for having me.
Everybody thinks you're so lucky to be married to me and
Yeah,
live in
lucky.
this house with all
I'm
these
lucky
dogs.
with living here with the pack.
He
It
loves
just keeps
it.
growing and growing and growing.
Well, you insisted that I get another dog, so.
What?
All right, and Jacob, good producing this season. Good job.
Thank you.
And for your occasional cameos.
There's a lot of them in this one.
It's a family affair. All right, guys, we will see you next season on Dog for Thought. Take care, everyone. Bye. Dog for Thought is written and hosted by me, Sarah Brown, co-hosted by Sophie Brown, produced, edited, and original music by Jacob Brown. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.